Hey everyone, I'm Jack from FinOptimal, and today we're going to be covering 3 QuickBooks Online tips specifically for professional services companies. Tip 1 discusses setting up customer and sub-customer tracking in QBO. Tip 2 covers time tracking and payroll allocation, and Tip 3 talks about optimizing the invoicing process. Let's get into it. First up, we're going to talk about how to set up customer tracking in QuickBooks Online so that you're able to monitor profitability for each client. You're already tracking invoices by client, but we want to tag costs to those clients as well. So step 1 is heading to your account settings, opening up expenses, and making sure the track expenses and items by customer option is toggled on. Now, anytime you create an expense, bill, check, or journal entry, you can assign that cost to a specific client. We'll do that here. We'll assign the $5,500 expense to customer A. When we hit save and then open up our P&L, we can filter it by a specific customer. Now let's take this a step further. Let's say you're a marketing agency that handles multiple campaigns for different clients. If all of those campaigns are bundled into a singular customer account, it becomes really difficult to track profitability at the campaign level. And that's where we recommend that professional service companies use sub-customers to organize their work. To set this up in QuickBooks, first we're going to navigate to the Sales tab and then open up a customers list. As long as we have our parent customer already created, we can hit New Customer and add sub-customers for each of the campaigns or projects or whatever we want to track. In our marketing agency example, we'll split things into a spring and winter campaign. We'll put customer name as spring campaign, and then we'll check is a sub-customer, and then select the parent customer. We'll do the exact same thing for a winter campaign. Once this is set up, we can head back to our expense that we created for customer A earlier, and then split it into those 2 campaigns, spring and winter. We'll do that in the customer field. Once we save that, we can head to our P&L, and then now we have the ability to filter the customer field by the campaigns, which you can see here. Filter by spring, winter, or we could show everything as a whole. This setup will help you track profitability at both the client and individual project level. Now let's look at tip number 2, which is time tracking and payroll allocation. For professional services companies, time is money, whether you bill hourly or not. Even with flat rate projects, you need to understand how much time your employees are spending to ensure profitability on each client. To do this, QuickBooks has built-in time tracking that can be done through the QuickBooks Time mobile app. When your employees go in to do this, they can track their time to a specific project, customer, or sub-customer. So for example, here we'll say John Smith worked for 3 hours and wants to assign it to a specific campaign we're running for one of our customers. Here you can input time, customer or sub-customer, add notes, or whatever you need. Then at the end of the month, we can run a report that shows all the time an employee tracked. And a pro tip that we like to use, we recommend creating a customer called G&A so that when your team is tracking their time, they have something to track their non-billable hours to. So when we open up this report and we see all of John's time, you can see that non-billable hours are all tagged as G&A. So with this report, we like to export it and then bring it into Excel or Google Sheets so that we can start breaking down these hours. You can see here we've done some modifications. We've broken the hours down by each customer, campaign, and non-billable time. We then take those hours to calculate the percent of the total, and then from there we can allocate John's labor cost to specific projects. We look at John's total pay for the month and are able to use the percentages we just calculated to allocate his pay by project. These numbers are then what we use to create the journal entry for John's time. So jumping back over to QuickBooks, we already have a paycheck for John here. We've gone ahead and pre-filled that. So what we'll do now is create a journal entry. That journal entry is going to use 2 new accounts we created, cost of sale payroll and payroll reallocated to cost of goods sold. And we do that so we can see both the total payroll during the month and the amount allocated to cost of goods sold. So what we'll do is we'll put these side by side and fill out the journal entry. By filling things out this way as a 3-line entry, it'll move the payroll associated with a client to a cost of sales account while the G&A payroll stays. So when we save this and we open up our P&L, we can see our total payroll, but also see our net G&A amount with the $5,256 here, as well as how much is allocated to cost of sale. That's the $2,744. And finally, if we filter for any specific customer, we get to see a true view of client profitability. And finally, for tip 3, let's talk about optimizing your invoicing process. As a professional service company, you're signing clients at the start of the month, the end of the month, and everywhere in between. But to have a clean invoicing process, we want to be able to bill every single client on the first of the month. So that means if we have a new client come in on, say, the 16th, we're actually going to prorate their first month. And this allows us to bill their full amount on the 1st of next month. For the example here, we've got customer B starting on the 16th, so we'll input that for the invoice date, and then say this is a $7,000 a month client. We have half a month between 10/16 and 10/31, so we'll bill them $3,500 on November 1st. And every month moving forward, they'll be billed with the rest of our clients at the start of the month. Once we get that prorated invoice created, we'll create a new invoice dated for November 1st, which will be the monthly one that we send to this client. A nice feature in QuickBooks is the recurring invoice option under scheduling. After you toggle that option on, select the start date and update any other options you'd like to change. Once we hit save, that invoice will repeat for as long as we'd like and we're good to go. And those are our 3 tips for professional services companies using QuickBooks Online. Here at FinOptimal, we use these tips every month while handling the books for our clients. But we've also built apps that help in-house accountants eliminate manual accounting work for accrual accounting, monthly journal entries, and reporting so that their QuickBooks works like magic. If you're tired of wasting time on manual accounting work and are ready for faster closes and higher margins, visit FinOptimal.app to learn more about Accruer, Booker, Wrangler, and the rest of what FinOptimal has to offer.